true. If you have your front wipers on and then you put it in reverse, it turns the rear wiper on. It works. All right, what's up, guys? My name is Zach, and today I'm driving a 2014 Ford Focus ST. Up front is a 2.0-liter turbocharged inline 4-cylinder engine, and down below is a 6-speed manual gearbox. Now, the first thing you'll notice about this car is the striking yellow color, which some people will argue that it's orange, but it is yellow. In fact, at least that's what the paint code from Ford says. And I think it looks really good. I like the way this car looks. I just like how hatchbacks look. I've always been a fan of hatchbacks, and I think this car looks really good. So let's talk about that 2.0-liter turbocharged inline 4. Well, it produces a good amount of power. This thing is not slow. It'll pull, as you will now see. The problem that it does have, though, is that there is a fair amount of torque steer, and what that means is when it's under a heavy load, the car will actually start to kind of go off to the left or right. Now, this was also a problem for first-generation Mazda Speed 3s, which we'll get into talking about that in a little bit. Now, a 6-speed transmission is pretty nice, although I do notice the clutch in this car is pretty aggressive. And by aggressive, I mean it's kind of like, there. It's together. It's not like in and out. Like older cars, you can kind of like in and out with the clutch. It's kind of like, oh, okay, grabbing, whatever. This thing, it grabs it pretty quick. And it does only have 20,000 miles on the car, which is low mileage for really any car. But that clutch is still new, and from the factory, they grab pretty hard. I was not expecting it to be that hard. Granted, it's not a stage 3 racing clutch, but it's not the easiest thing in the world. But this car is turbocharged, which is a beautiful, beautiful thing. Turbochargers make the world go round. They're so fun, and once this car builds boost, it's a lot of fun. So let's talk about the interior. Well, the gauges, they're pretty standard Ford gauges, and you get this little computer in the middle that'll tell you a lot of different things about the car. Your MPGs, your distance traveled, distance till empty, a nice little data center, which is a very nice feature. In the center, you get a little screen that'll show your radio. It's not touchscreen, just a very small screen. And down below that, you get an array of buttons. You can do anything you want. It even has a number pad you can call off of, which is kind of interesting. It almost looks like an old car phone from, like, you know, the 70s or 80s when they put actual telephones inside of cars. Then down below that, you get your heating and cooling. Now, the one thing you are going to notice on the Focus STs is that there's 3 gauges above the radio. Now, above the radio, you get an oil temperature gauge, a boost gauge, and a oil pressure gauge. Now, oil pressure and temp, that's nice that you get those. It's nice that you get that feature. But the boost gauge is the interesting part, where it's not an actual boost gauge. And by actual boost gauge, I mean it doesn't show vacuum. Real boost gauges, they show when the turbo is sucking in air and, you know, collecting vacuum, and then it shows obviously the boost in positive and vacuum in negative numbers. This gauge only goes positive numbers, which it really only shows you when you're making boost. It's fun to watch it go up, but then it just sits at 0 when you're producing vacuum. So it's not super accurate, but at least it's something to look at. Like right now, I am doing about 40 miles an hour, and it's told me to get up in 6th. It literally told me I was just getting up to speed in 3rd, which isn't crazy. I would ride first gear all the way up to 40 in my RX-7. I was getting up to speed. It told me to shift up into 4th, so I did. Immediately told me to shift up into 5th. Immediately told me to shift up into 6th. And that does get just a little bit annoying. But again, you don't have to follow that. You can downshift whenever you want. Otherwise, the interior, you could spec out and get Recaro seats in here. Obviously, this one does not have the Recaro seats, which I'm actually thankful for, because being a not-so-small guy, I don't fit in Recaro seats all that well. I've always wanted to put Recaros like in my RX-7 or whatnot, but I've never been able to really fit in them properly. Maybe they make a larger seat size. Maybe I've always just sat in smaller ones, but I've never been comfortable in Recaros. And how can one forget, you guys know it's my favorite, sunroof! It's got a sunroof. And of course, it's a hatchback. So you get that huge rear hatch, which is really nice, which adds to kind of a reason to buy this car. This car makes sense. I mean, it really does when you think about it. Because it has 4 doors, so you can fit friends and family in the back. It's not a 2-seater Mustang. You know, it has the rear hatch, so if you want to put a pet back there, or if you had to fit a bunch of groceries, something like that, you can do that as well. This car is practical. It makes sense. But also, it has a turbo. And you can't really deny a turbo. So why do people buy STs? Why are these cars so popular? Why especially with now the RS, why are these cars so popular? And the reason is like I said before, they make sense. The Mustang doesn't make sense to own. I mean, I get why people own them, but if you look at it from a pure realistic standpoint, there is no reason to own a Mustang. No one's ever bought a Mustang because they need to. You buy a pickup truck because you need to. You need that space. You need that bed to haul things. You need a pickup truck. No one needs a Mustang. No one's like, oh, well, you know, Deborah's moving, so gotta buy a Mustang. But with this car, hey, I need a car that'll fit my whole family. It's fun to drive. It's something that I would commute in. It's something I would drive every day. It's Honda Civic's revving in front of me. This car has a reason. You could walk into a Ford dealership and go, hey, I have a family of 4. I need a car to get me at point A to point B, get them to practice, get them to school, but it's also fun to drive. This is your car. This is the car that you should buy if you have 2 kids or if you have friends. If you talk to anyone besides your imaginary friend, this is a good car for you. Not to mention, they still come in stick shift today, which is going away. It's sad. A lot of manufacturers don't even make cars that are stick shift anymore, but this you can get with a stick shift. Now, I mentioned the Mazda Speed 3 beforehand, and what I mean by that, why I mentioned it, is the Mazda Speed 3, the first generation one, was a 2.3 liter inline 4 turbocharged 6-speed manual front-wheel drive. There's a 2.0 liter turbo front-wheel drive 6-speed manual. And the EcoBoost motors that they put in the Mustangs, those are 2.3 liters as well. So I could see this being a distant cousin of the Speed 3. Now granted, bless Mazda's heart, they don't make the Speed 3 anymore, unfortunately. So this is kind of the next generation almost. It has that torquey steer. It feels a lot like a Speed 3. If you've ever driven a Speed 3 and not a Focus ST, they drive pretty similarly. Granted, the Speed 3 that I drove or used to drive, it had a pretty loud exhaust. So obviously it sounded a lot different, but actually driving wise, it feels pretty similar. This, okay, the shifter the throw feels a lot longer. But other than that, they're really similar. This is the distant cousin to the Speed 3. I'm willing to bet money on it. So would I buy a Ford Focus ST? And the answer to that question, absolutely. Actually, I really hope to get one. I really want to replace my G6 with this car. I want a daily one of these. I want to daily drive a Focus ST. It's super practical, super fun, and I really just don't see a downside to it. You can get good gas mileage if you want to. You can go fast if you want to. You can fit a lot of people in it if you want to. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, subscribe if you really liked it, and if you have any questions about the 2014 Ford Focus ST, please leave it in the comment section down below. Take care, guys.
There goes a sight from my soul.